Okay, hi everyone. This is going to be the video for I'm sorry, it's like I'm recording a video here for the classes, getting towards the end of the semester. So we're doing scenarios 7, 8, and 9, right? We said this involves the tax software. First thing you got to do is download this guy right here, this PDF. You click it because this is going to be the intake stuff, right? Imagine we had our client who came in, right? We took some notes. They filled out this sheet, right? This is what they filled out, and then they gave us their tax documents, right? So we need to input this into the tax software to help answer some questions for this exam, right? So with the tax software, remember, you got to go to that site. You should have, from the first video, created an account. You're going to enter Train Pro Web, all in caps. That's great. You'll log into your account. So type this out, sorry. Right, then you're going to click go to practice area. That's great. And then what you're going to do is, right, so this is where you got to be careful. Change tax year. We're doing 2022, right? If you go into 2023, if you just come in here and you're like start 2023 return, you're going to be screwed up. It's going to be wrong because we're doing tax year 2022. They've updated the tax software, but they haven't updated the exam yet. So we're in this like gray area where I was hoping everything would change by this time, but it hasn't. So first thing you do once you log in, change tax year 2022, right? So if we go through here, right, let's kind of look at what's going on, right? So we had a client that came in, we took down these notes, right? We have Jeff and Claire, they're 68 and 63, they do MFJ, neither is blind. Jeff's retired, he got some Social Security benefits and a pension. Looks like they have a daughter, Shelby, 19. She's a full-time student. Looks like she's getting a college degree. She gets a 1098T, where box 7 was not checked. Looks like she lives with them, let's just say for the entire year, because when she's away, that doesn't count when they're at school. She received a scholarship. It looks like the parents, Jeff and Claire, paid the tuition. There was a parking sticker, a meal plan, some textbooks, items there. Looks like they paid for more than half the cost of maintaining the support for the kid. They don't itemize. They have valid Social Security numbers. And if they receive a refund, they want it to be, put into this account. All right. So first thing, they gave us some made up Social Security cards. So this scenario is fake, right? The sense like these aren't real people in real life. It's just the IRS has created this to help you show what it would be like, right? So we got copies of their Social Security cards. Then we have the 13614C, which was when they first came in, they had to fill this out, right? So it's like husband, wife, their address, what they do, their birth date, they're married. Hey, there's some information here about a dependent. They're then giving us, right, yes or no for all of these items on it. And then, hey, here's the actual tax forms themselves. Looks like they got a W-2 for the wife, a 1099-R for the husband, some Social Security for the husband, and then looks like there was a dividend to the husband, and then the 1098T for the tuition and some other kind of items here. All right, so what we have to do is basically analyze this and start to input it into the tax software, right? So remember, we're going to 2022. We're going to do start a new return. First thing we need to do is input the Social Security number, right, for Jeff. So we're going to do 12700, 12700, and then you can just make the rest zeros, right? So 127000000, right? Start return. Okay, so we know, right? First thing they're doing here is filing status. They're doing married filing jointly. They tell us that right off the bat. We'll click that. We'll click continue. If we were unsure, we could use a filing status wizard to help us, but we know it's MFJ. All right, now we got to input the information here, right? So what I'm going to do is, I actually have already done this, so I'm not going to sit here and type this out. I'm going to go into the return I've already done, right, for them. But you'll go into that basic information, right, filing status. You'll do MFJ, continue. This is where we were. You'll type in Jeff Pickens. You can punch in the social security card, whatever you, I mean, it doesn't matter this information. I mean, in real life, right, every single detail matters. If you had the social security number wrong, it would bounce back. You might not be able to get the kid as a dependent. But here, right, this is made up clients. The main thing you have to worry about is those source documents, the W-2s, the 1098-T, that we're entering that correctly. Right, so we're going to enter the date of birth for the husband, right? Where do we get that? Let's see here, right here, 1954, he's retired, right? Then we'll type in the wife's name, right? We'll put her social security number, her date of birth from that intake form, right? We'll put in their address, right? So we'll type in, where's this at? 5 Pebble Lane. So we're just going to use Morgantown, West Virginia, right? So for it, it's not that big of a deal. It may ask you for, it may show a West Virginia state return. We don't care about that. All of our, inputs and all of this is at the federal level, right? So we'll hit continue there. That's great. You can just hit OK on that. The next thing we're going to do is, right, once you get the basic information, you're going to go to the federal section, right? So this is like the input view over here. It's like your income, your deductions, right? At the very end, we're going to go to summary print. But what we essentially have to do now that we put the basic information in is we got to go start putting this source data in, right? So we're going to start with the W-2, right? So you'll go to federal section, income, add or edit. You can, let's see here. If you're doing a new one, which you like from your screen, you're not going to see this. So you'll click add W-2. Here, I've already entered it, right? So this is for Claire, right here. So you're going to enter Claire. This is a standard W-2. You'll enter in the EIN for the from the W-2, right? So 25, right? You can just put all sevens. It'll self-populate some of this. Up here isn't as important as down here, right? This needs to be accurate down here, right? So you'll type in 45, like your wages, Social Security, Medicare. When you type this in right here, it will probably automatically populate these 4 boxes down here. The reason for it is, right, this is SE, right, your self-employment. Well, it's actually FICA because it's wages, but this is that 15.3% that gets spread out between it. So these should automatically populate, but the idea with it is you'll type in and you want to make sure these items are the same on the W-2, which is fine. Everything's got to be the same, right? DD 2300, that's going to go in there. Make sure you check the retirement income just like they did. There you go. We'll hit continue, right? Continue. All right, so we got done with the W-2. Let's move on to the 1099-R, right? So we're going to go to, let's see here, retirement income. Okay, we would do add a new 1099-R. I've already input it, right? So check here, this is standard. You're going to do Jeff. You're essentially just going to do the same thing. Enter the basic information over here, but then copy it over, right? So it's going to be the basic information that you type in, and then 16, 16, 4,000 withheld, right? 16, 16, 4,000 withheld. Distribution code 7. All right, there we go. We can put a big check mark next to that, right? We're just working our way down. With individual returns, you basically just input it, you're done with that. Input it, you're done with that. Now we're going to move to the Social Security item, right? So we're going to go to income, Social Security benefits, right? The idea with this is there would be like a button, add new. You're going to see this. hey, when we look at it, there's 12,000 in box 3 or box 5. Box 5. And then box 6 here, there was 1,200 of withholding, right? 12,000, 1,200. Continue. That's great. We input that. There we go. Now we got to go down and put in this 1098 div, right? So he must have received a dividend here. So we're going to go to income, interest and dividends, right? This would be interest or dividend income, right? You would do add interest or dividends. I've already done this, right? So you'll just copy the information over, Baldwin Bank, right? Stuff about Jeff, right? From it, what's the most important stuff? The actual income and the tax withheld, right? So 2,200, 2,200, 330, right? 2,200, 2,200. What's the 330 at? 330. Okay. You got to hit continue. The one thing with the software is it's a little bit wonky. It won't let you just kind of jump around. You always have to kind of keep hitting continue. All right, so the tuition is where it gets a little bit complicated in the sense that we need to look at this 1098T. And give me a second here, I want to pull up. Okay, so here's what's going on with it, right? When we input this in the software, yes, you will go to deductions, education credit, right? We're looking at that. It's for Shelby, right? You're going to go in, put in the information. Did they receive a 1098T? Yes. Did it have box 2 filled in and box 7 checked? Well, no, box 7 is not checked. That's going to be a no. We'll enter the information from it, the university, hit continue. This is where, and these are the correct answers, but how am I getting this, right? Because if you look at it, it's just like 9,500, right? And 75, it doesn't match it exactly. Well, that's not always the case in practice, right? In other words, sometimes even though the form says this, you have to make adjustments to it, right? So what this means if you look at just the form, right? So we're talking about, first off, why are we inputting this, potentially getting them the American Opportunity Credit or the Lifetime Learning Credit? We're looking at education credits. If you think about it, right, those credits are for truly what you pay out of pocket, right, for qualified expenses. So in this case, right, the college got $9,500, but they gave her a $7,500 scholarship, right? So it's like, yeah, they paid $9,500, but $7,500 was a scholarship. So they really only paid $2,000 there, right? So that's how we got the $2,000. Of the other expenses down here, right, meal plan is never going to count, right? That's like a personal, item. They don't give you tax deductions for that. The parking sticker is not going to account, but the textbooks in the online textbook fee, like the Connect code, if you bought it online, those do count, right? So that's going to be $750 plus 100 is $850. So what's this saying? Hey, we're trying to get you an education credit. You really paid $2,000 in tuition after you back out that scholarship. And then your other qualifying expenses are $850, right? So once you input that, right, hit continue, right, it's going to be, has the American Opportunity already been claimed? You can put no, were they enrolled of an academic period that began in 2022? You can put yes. Did they complete the first 4 years? No. Were they have a drug conviction? No. For some reason, the software is acting a little bit funky on this. You don't need it to truly kind of go through and have it qualify in order to answer the questions here. But once we input that information, right? Remember I said in the software you have an input view and an output view, right? Now it's like we go through, we put a check, we put a check. Now we have to answer some questions here, right? So these are what are in the actual software itself. So what would you do? You would go to summary, print, right? This is like the output view. And you can print it, right, if you wanted to, right? So if you want to see the entire return, you can print it to PDF. And most of the time, what you do with it in like real life and practice is you print it to a PDF and you save it like an engagement or a drive. You actually electronically file like in here. It's not like you print this out and you mail it into the IRS. If this was the real software, you'd be like, all right, I'm done, e-file, put it online. But this would be showing you like the full version if you want it as a PDF. This is kind of the truncated version, right? So we got like page 1 of the 1040, page 2, and then the associated schedules, right? So schedule 1 showing additional income, schedule 2 above the line deductions, schedule 3 other taxes, part 2 of that, or I'm sorry, schedule 3 here additional credits, and then schedule 8 other payments. So this is just showing you like, hey, this is like the government view, what the IRS is going to see when you submit it. So when we look at the questions here, right, so their standard deduction amount, 27.3. Well, we would go here and we would see, oh, standard deduction, 27.3. That's accurate, right? Jeff and Claire's qualified education expenses, right? For that one, we said it was the 28.50, right? The amount we put in there. They can claim the credit for other dependents. Well, we'd have to go and see. Let's see over here. Where's that? Do we have $500 somewhere as a credit? Oh, yep, we do. $500 credit for other dependents. What's their federal income tax withholding? Well, you could get that over here, the total amount of withholding, right? 25D. And again, when you enter this amount in, when they ask you for these amounts, make sure you put no comma, dollar signs, periods. Look at it exactly. So you can look at, right, I'm not going to give you all the answers here. The last one I will because we don't have the book. It's going to be qualified dividends are part of it. But the idea with it is, right, you can go and look at this form and it will help you out, right? So I don't know, Social Security, is that on here somewhere? It should be Social Security. Well, there's 12,000. Oh, well, only 10,000 of that is going to be taxable. All right, so that's the idea there with scenario 7. You would just go through, input it, right? And that's how you would answer it. Scenario 8, right? This one, what we can do, let's see, do we want to put this one? This one we can talk about, like you can follow this, right? That same kind of process of inputting it in the software, right? You would start with the information. You would then have the intake form here. Looks like they have some information on it, and then they have some questions. There's no real inputs here on this, but if I were to go into, right, so back into my returns, just to show you what I did this one, right? So, oh, here's Morgan, Calhoun. How did I do this? Right, well, I started a new return in 2022, right? I then did the filing status for the individual, right? They don't give it to you here exactly, but if you read the facts, right, she's single, she has 2 kids. A couple things to be aware of here. The one kid who's 18 has some wages. The other kid is 25 and is totally and permanently disabled. So the idea with that is because it's kind of like a single parent and they have that, the kid they're looking after there, they're going to be head of household, right? Now, a couple things with it, right? If we were to go through and enter this information, right? So it's going to be head of household. We then go through and we put our dependents, right? So dependents, edit, add, right? So we would go through there, Leah, date of birth, social security number. Yes, the one thing here that would be important is for the second person, Dale, you got to make sure that you check, let's see here, this box that he was disabled because that's going to come into play later on. Then you go through, right? We only have one income document here, right? It's going to be the 1099-R. right? So you would input that over here, right? So 42,000, 1,000 withheld. And then, right, you'd go through and you could look at the summary print, right? You can see what's going on. You don't really need to input that, however, to determine the answers for this, right? So if we were looking at it, what's going on, Morgan's disability pension is reported as earned income. Yeah, we go through here. Let's see here, pension. Yep, it's taxable, right? That's the idea. True. What's the most advantageous filing status? We talked about that in this case. Let's see what it's giving us if we go up here. So it's going to be head of household. This will be a little bit different for the last one, the last problem, but it's head of household. It says which child qualifies. This one I'm just going to give to you. It's going to be C, both of them. Morgan cannot claim Dale's. This one's false, right? If you have a dependent who is basically disabled, you can claim, if you have like a child who's disabled, you can claim them for life as a dependent because yeah, they're disabled, you're taking care of them. Morgan anticipates a balance due. What should she do? Well, this one, she should use the withholding estimator, right? So those would be some helpful items for you on that one. All right, finally here, the last scenario, right? We have Monica Montgomery. So what's going on here? So she's 31. She was married to Mike. It looks like Mike passed away last year. She's not remarried. She's got Emma at home. So what this means is her filing status is most likely going to be qualifying surviving spouse. We got a husband who dies in year 1. Here we are in year 2. We haven't remarried. We got a kid at home. Qualifying surviving spouse. Looks like she took a distribution from an IRA to pay for living expenses. So she's only 31. If you pull out your retirement early, you're going to get hit with a 10% penalty, as well as any additional taxes you owe on it. Looks like she was a teacher, right? She earned 42 grand in wages, and she bought some educational expenses for the classroom out of pocket. So she's going to get an above the line deduction for this for her educator expenses, K through 12 teacher. She won some money at the casino, 10 grand. Hey, that's great. That's going to be taxable income, right? She paid some dependent care expenses. Looks like, if she's entitled to a refund, she wants this. But essentially what's going on, it's her and her kid. Her husband passed away last year. They're giving you the intake form. You could input this into the software. If you want to do it, right, play around by all means, go ahead. I'm just trying to give you kind of the overview. What do you need to do, right? So you would input the W-2, check. You would input the W-2G for the winnings, right? Check. You would input the 1099-R. You would input the 1098-E, right? They're giving us some information here. You would go into the deductions credits area. Hey, maybe she could get, and she will get the child independent care credit, right? The idea with this is, hey, you're looking for work or you're paying for your kid for daycare. You would input that amount there for it. But with it, right, to kind of keep it simple and not overwhelm you in this video, let's look at 25 through 30 here, right? So it says she's required to report her gambling winnings. That's going to be true. What's her most advantageous filing status? It's going to be qualifying surviving spouse. Does she have to pay an additional tax on that early distribution? Yeah, you take out money before you hit, into your 50s and 60s, you're going to get hit with a 10% penalty. Which credit does she qualify for? Well, hey, she's got the kid, and then she paid for those expenses. That's going to be both A and B. It says she wants to split her refund. Say she got like 5 grand in a refund or whatever the number is. Can she split it? Well, in this case, yeah, she's going to have to complete this Form 8888. And then they say, what is the amount of the above the line deduction for the educator expenses? Well, for an individual, if you're K through 12, it's $300, right? So the answer here is going to be $300 for 30. So with that, right, watch this video, look at the answers, the inputs. this is really just meant to, right? The first scenario 7, I want you to do the software. The other ones, you can probably just watch the video. I want you to get into and kind of play around with the software. This is a practice lab, right? If you want to go through and see, click this, click that, I'm kind of just giving you the basics here to kind of be able to navigate. But between these videos, you should be good for the VITA certifications.